Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. Today's topic, this violent Hispanic woman, exotic dancer, beheaded her boyfriend, but then she tried to flee back to Mexico. How many more men, regardless? In this situation, it was an Hispanic man. Most likely in this situation, it was a Mexican man. But regardless, again, how many more males will it take for numbers of men to stop being gullible, the ones applies to have their mentality reprogrammed from an ancient time of Leave It to Beaver days and Father Knows Best, when they thought that their woman was a certain type of way, until realistic in this 21st century, right? Where numbers of violent women are very common, where the domestic abuseness of men are very common, and the minimization by however political figures, however miscegery type women, and also who I call the Sister of Chaos members and these other pro domestic abuseness organizations that minimize any type of violence by women against men. How many more males will it take? Or how many more victims does it take, right, of men victims at the hands of heinous, violent women does it take for more males to stop being quiet? Now, in this situation here, I did another topic show. Let me share my screen before I get into the video. I'm going to show you something else. This is a video. Hold on. Yes. Oh, wait. Here we go. This is a video that I did before on the Real CP Show podcast. Make sure you can see this. Can you see that right there, right? Let me maximize this here. Hispanic woman. Let me make sure my screen share, okay? Hispanic woman, this one again, this other one, dismembers her Hispanic male lover, what I call brown on brown criminality, on that podcast. And when was this done? Again, the Real CP Show. It was done about a year ago. Right? This is not playtime, people. This is not some board game you can play and all of a sudden get rid of. It's not the way that it goes on this situation. So let me go ahead and share my screen again and start with this particular video. And I want you to keep some in mind, especially when they start talking about a manhunt. I can't stand that word, because when it's a woman doing criminality and she flees like this one did, let's just see if they're going to call it a woman hunt. Let's see. As some people caught up toward the 21st century of true terminology. Let's see. Let me make sure. Okay. All right. I'm utilizing this as fair usage doctrine.
After an intense manhunt, a woman suspected of a brutal crime, killing and decapitating her boyfriend, has been arrested. Good afternoon. This is the KTLA 5 News at 1. I'm Glenn Walker.
And I'm Lou Parker.
Police say the suspect fled to Mexico. That's where she was arrested and returned to the U.S.
Investigators from multiple agencies worked together to track her down. And KTLA's Orange County Bureau Chief Chip Yost is live in Santa Ana with the latest details.
Yeah, hello there. You know, when you hear about the type of violence used in this case, it's something you typically might associate with drug cartels, but
Do you see already how this goes, right? What did I show you earlier about another woman, and the other specifically was an Hispanic woman who dismembered her boyfriend. All right.
district attorney's office says that's not the situation here. Instead, they believe this was a case of domestic violence.
What did he say? A case of domestic violence against the male victim, right? But you got people to act like they don't hear anything, right? You see how this goes in this society, various parts of society. Now, if this was a man that dismembered a woman, you have nationwide outrage and how a political figure is saying we must protect women, right? You see how this goes, right? Disgusting.
According to the Orange County District Attorney's Office, 23-year-old Elisa Lira of Anaheim was working as a stripper when she started dating 55-year-old Enrique Gonzalez Carbajal. But just 2 months into that dating relationship, Anaheim police were called to an apartment on La Palma Avenue where they found a horrible crime scene.
On August 25th, 2025, the headless body of a man was discovered in an Anaheim home and sparked an intense manhunt.
The headless body belonged to Gonzalez Carbajal, and the manhunt was for his girlfriend, who investigators believed had immediately fled to Mexico. And last week, after an intense search involving multiple agencies, that's where she was located, before being handed over to Anaheim police detectives at the border a day later.
We recently were able to locate her with the assistance of the FBI, the Anaheim Police Department, the Orange County District Attorney's Office, and Mexican authorities.
And you heard what they said about what again?
And return her back.
A manhunt, right? You hear what they said? They call it a manhunt. You see this outdated nonsense they continue to keep using, which is an insult. Why you got to keep calling yourself a manhunt when they're looking for a woman who's been violent or other criminality? But at the same time, they know it's not enough men that have gotten tired of one-sided misogyniness, which means hatred for men, that have not gotten tired enough of this one-sidedness. And I understand it's okay for certain numbers of men to ignore what's going on around, the blatant fireballingness against maleness. I got all that because that's deep-seated naiveness, right? And ingrainedness and gullibility that's been put in the DNA of millions of males. Again, with few exceptions, right? While at the same time, blazingness of asteroid, right? Ferocityness of hatred and anti-masculinity going toward males in society every day. You know, they have messed up millions of males on this extremely easy. Instead of being like this, as the great Razor Ramon has said, that's right. In this situation. Now, the thing about it is the insultingness of that. Unfortunately, she was 20-something years old. You know what? Let me share my screen for a second. Let me share my screen for a second. Give me a moment. Let me look at the article. This article. Okay, let me make sure you can see this article. Okay, give me a moment. Let me get that off screen. Okay. All right. Now you see exotic Hispanic dancer accused of beheading her boyfriend, which is Hispanic, I think it's Mexican, leaving a headless body at a California home before fleeing to Mexico. Where's all those politicalness figures once applies to? that are so pro domestic violence protections for women, but they quiet when women are beheading men. Where's all that protection conversation in helping men that are victims of domestic violence? Quietness. Right? Where's all those pro domestic abuse organizations that are getting all that funding and how have got their hands out and running donations to sit there and help in the protection of women, but at the same time, they quiet on not talking about the protection of men and women or in generalness, right? Quietness, right? And how many men have fell victims to these type of women when they look at certain looks on the outside and they don't look behind the deadliness of the eyes like this particular person? How many men have she messed over criminality? You'll really never know. A California woman, Hispanic woman, is accused of unaliving and beheading her boyfriend, left his headless body at her home, and fled to Mexico, according to authorities who said she had been captured in the country. Elisa Marie Lira, 23, was arrested in Mexico and brought back to U.S. to face murder charges in the unaliving of her boyfriend, 55-year-old Enrique Gonzalez Carbajal. Such entity announced in Thursday, January 29, 2026 news release. Lira, who has an Anaheim address, is charged with one felony count of murder and one felony enhancement of personally using a weapon, the office said. Information on her legal representation was not immediately available on Friday, January 30, 2026. Lira has been dating Gonzalez Carbajal for about 2 months before law enforcement found his decapitated body inside her Anaheim home back on August 25th, 2025, according to the prosecutors. But at the same time, just believe women, right? Just believe women, right? Again, however, personnel that do their stuff in transactional, however it goes, which is a whole different topic, because I don't go into all that. That's a different topic. The thing about it is, when numbers of males are naive to reality and refuse to see the truth on that there's quite a number of violent women.
I don't believe this is happening. Only fools refuse to believe the truth.
I say this in closing. It's such an insultingness that there is not enough men, again, that have gotten tired of the one-sided anti-maleness of masculinity. See, just because some man makes some money, has a business, has a house, is doing successful, whatever that's supposed to mean, it means nothing in this system of supremacy. It means nothing to feminists, because they're saying we can name billionaires with all that money that have the mentality of a coconut, right? An actual coconut would have more sense than certain numbers of men at these high levels that keep picking wrong women. So having money means that you don't mean you have logical common sense. Because logical common sense will tell them many of those women, they even are with these numbers of men, don't even want these men, don't want these men for one thing, that's money. If they have kids, they're messed over because they're in child support and say for instance, get this alimony for the ones who do. So if they were so dang smart, they would understand that part. But again, I don't see more males at an astronomical level catching on to these games. It's the way it goes. And that's why feminists, right, rightness and supremacists are the most awesome mental manipulation force that has ever existed within the U.S. And feminism derangement syndrome is spreading itself into other countries and other places. Thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.